Hello and welcome to Agronac Studios. I recently stumbled across a video by Old Grognard Says. He has a well thought out and compelling video on the topic of the shortage of 5th edition Dungeon Masters. As well, Dungeon Craft and Questing Beast, as well as others, have all given some insight into the 5e DM shortage. All of these links are in the description, by the way. The consensus seems to be that 5e is rules heavy, and that if you stripped away many of the cumbersome and quite frankly useless rules, you would probably have more people willing to be a dungeon master, because the game would be more basic, streamlined, and approachable as a dungeon master. Story time. I started with 1st and 2nd edition AD&D at about 1989, so I'm part of the latter old school role players. My first character, Magellan, was based upon Conan the Barbarian, as I was a huge fan. I still love that character, and he roams about in my homebrew world of Tarna. Then for my 8th grade graduation, I got Star Wars the role-playing game, and played the crap out of it. Then, in a Dragon magazine, I saw an advertisement for Torg, role-playing the Possibility Wars. I purchased the game as soon as I saw it in a B. Dalton bookseller. I cannot begin to tell you how much that game shaped me as a dungeon master, game master, and storyteller. It's simply a phenomenal game. After becoming brainwashed by a certain religious organization, I ended up writing my own RPG that was very, quote, fundamentally driven. The game is no longer available, but the simplicity of the game design was inherent due to where I had come from with AD&D, Star Wars the RPG, and Torg. Years later, I found myself playing AD&D 2nd edition with friends and family. And then I was reminiscing about it on Facebook, and some of my older friends berated me for living in the past and urged me to take a look at the far superior 3rd edition of D&D. So we gave it a shot. It was sort of bulky, rules-wise, but I didn't have that much time with it. I then got together with another group that was playing 2nd edition, and after playing 3rd edition for a time, it felt like home. It was easy, fast, intuitive. Probably mostly because I knew the system, like the back of my hand, really. Next, I came across Pathfinder 1st edition. I was kind of enamored by it. It was basically D&D 3.75 or 3.5 without all the warts. We played it for a time, probably 2 years before 5th edition came out. When I saw the 5e rule set, all I focused on were the parts that looked like old school D&D compared to Pathfinder. It was remarkably more streamlined, simple, and to the point. I convinced my group to give it a shot. We started playing it and didn't look back. We played from 2014 till the end of 2022. A few years back, I started playing old school essentials, dabbled every once in a while with AD&D, and each time it felt more like home. Not long ago, I came across Beckme Berserker's channel and his awesome video that summed up what I had been feeling for so long. It's the reason why I have formatted my video with an icon filled with a black screen, my ode to a great channel. If you aren't already, please go over to his channel and subscribe. He's got great content. It's well worth it. In Beckme Berserker's video, the 3 reasons why I left 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons for old school Beckme, he elegantly explains his plight with 5th edition. The 3 things he points out are 1. The problem with natural healing on long or short rests, 2. Death saves, and 3. Spell mechanics. I don't want to spoil it, so go check out his video. The link is down below. I think so many sum up the problem with 5e as a bloated system, though I had not thought of it as such because I had a stint with Pathfinder. So 5e was not bloated in comparison. But when I think about it, I have to agree. So what is my personal major gripe with 5e besides the company's questionable direction? It's that when you roll up a 5e character, They're superheroes at first level. When in previous editions of the game, it took till 10th to 15th level or so before you felt like you had much power. There's no progress. Though you're in a diaper, you can still lift a car because you're Superman. A dear friend of mine summed it up best. He said, "For all that 5e gives you as a player character, it does not make the game any better. What makes the game good or bad is the Dungeon Master." This is coming from someone that was playing the very first iterations of Dungeons & Dragons back in the 1970s. Thanks for those wise words, Kelly. Because of the culture of 5th edition and how the game is set up, the power is in the court of the player rather than the DM. To take away mechanics from the game does two things. One, if you say as a DM, for instance, "We're not using death saves. Everyone dies at 0 hit points," then the players think that you're cheating them out of what has been given to them by the rules in the book. And two, 5e starts to unravel very quickly when you start messing with the game. I'm assuming 6th edition, or 1D&D, will be even more so. I would much rather have a simple core rule set that is solid, whereby I can add to it because the game has been designed that way, which consequently is how basic, expert, 1st and 2nd edition AD&D were designed. To say it bluntly, 5e is just Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro's homebrew version of Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson's Dungeons & Dragons. They just happen to have the rights to it at this point in time. It really belongs to you, the Dungeon Masters, and the players. I guess at the end of all of it, what I'm saying is that I'm coming home to stay. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you for your time. Consider liking and subscribing to Agranac Studios, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.